YouTubers out there. This is Jerry the Movies with your host, Jerry Saravia. And today we're going to discuss actually, this is the first time I reviewed a movie, an original movie made for the Sci-Fi Network. So Sharknado is a first. And what do I think about this picture? Well, it is a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. Now, I don't mind seeing the occasional bad movie. I mean, well, I frankly have seen my share of them. Um, the best bad films, I think, are usually what I call the good bad films. The somewhat something of a guilty pleasure, perhaps, but usually good bad movies like Ed Wood's films, Plan 9 from Outer Space, Glen or Glenda, um, the incredible twisted two-headed transplant. I forget the title. I've seen it a little. Oh, the incredible people who became mixed up zombies or something like that. Anyway, that was another example, and there are several others. And then, anyway, those type of movies are good bad movies because they possess unintentional humor. And they give themselves a lift by taking themselves actually seriously, despite all the silliness. So in a way, they don't know they are bad movies. That's what makes them special. Troll 2 would be another example. The Room by Tommy Wiseau, I think, however you pronounce his name. If you see that movie, it's not even a movie. It's a good bad something. I don't know what it is. I wouldn't call it a movie. Anyway, those are the best bad films, which are actually, they're good bad movies, meaning they're not dull. But then, so then there are movies like, let's say, Lucky Number 11 with Bruce Willis, Four Rooms, Jaws the Revenge, Jaws 3D, Amityville 3D, the list goes on. Well, I haven't seen Megaforce. I'm trying to think of another one that I did look at, but I don't even think I reviewed on this program. Metal Storm, The Legend, or something Jarred Sin in 3D. Anyway, point being, there are these movies which are just bad, and there is no amount of humor in them to save them from being anything but bad. Sharknado is simply boring. It is a snoozer, and it's a bad film overall. Now, we'll go over the plot very briefly here. Ian Ziering plays a character named Finn, who runs a waterfront beach bar where John Hurd, whose character lives in Beverly Hills, is a recurring customer who's consistently drunk and flirts with a waitress who has her eye on Ziering and not the creepy grandpa, which I never thought I would call John Hurd, a creepy grandpa character. For those of you who don't know John Hurd, he's been in a dozen, a lot of movies since the 80s, if not late 70s. In particular, most of you might know him as the father of Kevin from the first two Home Alone movies. But, I always tend to forget my age, so perhaps I'm older than most, and probably most people have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, the sharks, they arrive on the beach and start chomping away at surfers and swimmers. The sharks can also fling themselves on land, break through doors, and cause massive damage from the sky. What it is there are several tornadoes that carry these sharks to land, all due to a freaky hurricane. It is a kind of hurricane that can splash water on certain characters, causing them to get wet in one shot and completely dry in the next. Of course, nobody dies in this movie from the hurricane. It is the sharks that kill. And these carnivores even attack people in their own houses. So they travel through the water that is extinguished from the tornadoes, hence Sharknado. Now there is one terrifically absurd scene that would be at home in a parody of this movie. Ian Ziering, who most of you might know, let's say from my age group, Beverly Hills 90210, back in 1990, okay, not the new one, sees a shark falling from the sky. He takes out a chainsaw, and as the great white makes impact with his chainsaw, he is supposedly eaten by the shark. makes impact. In other words, he goes right inside the shark as he's trying to um, kill the shark with a chainsaw. And everyone thinks he is dead, including his ex-wife, very thanklessly played by Tara Reid. Suddenly the chainsaw cuts through the shark's belly and out comes Ziering, who is alive. And if you can believe it, a survivor whom we thought was dead earlier. Sharknado is just not absurd enough, nor does it really push the limits of camp. It assumes its campy ideas enough. So in other words, the filmmakers here, I think, were trying to make a good bad movie. But the best, as I said, good bad movies are those that don't know that they are good bad movies. And there's some awkward pacing and frantic cuts that suggest something is happening throughout this movie, when in fact nothing is really happening. Cue the endless scenes, and I mean endless scenes, inside a car with windows that show no background whatsoever, except for hot windows, as if they were driving in the sky. In other words, you're actually inside the car with them as they are driving. So here's Ian Searing in the foreground, someone else in the foreground, and two other people in the background, meaning in the back seat, and you can see through the car windows, and all you see is white, as if it's just white light or an overcast sky, but you don't see the sky, you don't see anything. But they are driving, so you don't see the highway, you don't see anything. It's obviously, it's like if it was filmed in a studio. So the movie is a listless bore. It really is, and a chore to sit through. It really is a chore. So let's hope the sequel amps up the absurdity beyond containing a funny title like Sharknado. There's really not much more to say, people. Sharknado, big, big, huge disaster of a movie. Can't really call it a movie. I don't know what it is. I guess you could say it's Jaws in a whirling tornado, but you're just better off watching Jaws or Jaws 2 or Piranha or a bunch of other movies. But if you really are curious, check it out. But I don't recommend it. And this is Jerry the Movies with your host, Jerry Saravia, signing off.